We make calls, we chase down leads, we shoot, we write, we edit, we go live from the scene, and we bring you, East Texans, your local news, sports, and weather, day in and day out.
KETK has been doing all of those things we just mentioned for you for the past 25 years. First as TV 56 News, later Region 56 News. Now you can just call us KETK. Simple. But our 25 years of news didn't start here on the Loop in Tyler. We've only been here for the past 20 years. This is where KETK got its start, just down the road a ways in Jacksonville in 1987. I was born and raised in this town, so I remember the station well. The big KETK logo on the side of the building, and I often saw the original meteorologist Mark Rowlett hard at work outside in this gazebo.
Taking a look 25 years into KETK's past was something I've wanted to do for a while, but it was no easy task. I searched for hours through our extensive collection of archives and finally found this laying around in a corner, a box labeled Beginnings of KETK. But the process didn't end there. In our digital world, playing these old tapes is not a walk in the park, so we did some more digging and found this old thing, a machine commonplace in news stations in the old days, but pretty foreign to most of us younger guys. After a brief tune-up, it came back to life, and we finally got a glimpse of the past. Well, you can't go back much farther than this. It's the KETK Tower itself being erected in Jacksonville, right next to a brand new television station. Originally intended to be called KTRG, it eventually became K East Texas K, or KETK as you know it.
The 6 p.m. Report with Ruth Allen, John Gilbert, TV 56 meteorologist Mark Rowlett with weather, and Jim Knox on sports.
If you recognize the name Jim Knox, you're not alone. We'll get to that part later on. During these very early days, getting her foot in the door as a newsroom assistant was Leslie Roberts. All these years later, Roberts remembers the startup of KETK fondly, but the growing pains were definitely a challenge.
Our news director would have the newscast go on as if we were on air, and we would never know. She didn't want us to know when the switch would be flipped, that we would actually be on air, and would finish the newscast and we would say, were we on air?
She says one day the answer was yes, and the rest is history. Robert's days as a newsroom assistant didn't last long. She eventually hit the airwaves and essentially became the face of KETK until the mid-90s.
The commission has the right to set production levels for the field. However, there has been no final decision yet.
Ever since those days of reporting and anchoring for KETK, Roberts has done some nonprofit work and at the moment is just focusing on being mom.
People ask me if I miss it. Yeah, I do. There'll be days when it was hard for me to even go on vacation when I was working at the news station because I'd see stories and I'd be calling in and say, well, did you get this? Did you get this? Leslie, you're on vacation.
Roberts says it was a big deal when KETK came into being. It was something East Texas desperately needed.
I really think that KETK really pushed that cohesiveness and expanded the horizons of not just Tyler, but out into the communities.
Oh yeah, back to Jim Knox. You now know him as the Jim Knox, or Knoxy as some like to call him, reporter for Fox Sports Southwest. You can see him entertaining the crowds at Rangers games by interviewing the fans and doing some pretty memorable reporting, to say the least, at college football games. Knox was KETK's original sports guy. To hear his story, stay tuned for Part 2, a look at KETK sports through the years. Casey Claiborne, KETK News.